Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Empty Nesters. I'm so glad you came and joined me again today. And my name is Kathy. I am an empty nester along with my husband. Well, we're partially empty nesters at this point. I have 4 children, and our last one, our little baby boy, haha, and his wife live with us currently, but on a very temporary basis before they fly out of the coop. And they plan to, so it's not a forever thing. So we're just helping them right now temporarily in life. And you may be in the same situation as we are, where those children like to fly back to the coop and fly back out again. And sometimes that's what they do, which is great. So that's where we are in life. And I just wanted to start this channel because I am an empty nester. I have friends who are empty nesters, and I kept coming up with things that I heard people saying about how big of a change it was for them and how hard it was to adjust to this new chapter in life. And also, I went through my own stuff around it, and just like to have a channel to talk about it, make people feel like they're not alone in it, and we're going to get through this, and to just remind ourselves this is a very exciting time in life. It doesn't always feel that way at first, but it really is a really exciting time, and we can create it into something, a masterpiece for our own lives. We can finally get into that place of peace and serenity and sanity in our lives, and have an opportunity to create balance and enjoyment. Of course, we enjoyed our children. Of course, we enjoyed raising our children. Most of us do. And especially those of us who wanted to be moms, who wanted to be dads, we're feeling probably a void and an emptiness right now from that. So that is what I'm going to, it's going to be a positive video. I promise it is, but I want to talk about something that maybe we don't put words to, or we don't allow ourselves to go through. And I want to talk about grieving. I want to talk about the grieving process that we go through once our children leave. This is a really real thing, and it's something that was hard for me to wrap my brain around at first, because I just remember my husband saying when the kids were young, I'll be so glad when the kids are grown up and out of here, because then it'll just be me and you. And, it's almost like a second honeymoon again, and we'll have the house to ourselves. And he was being all positive about it. And now that the kids are truly grown and gone, I can see that he kind of felt like maybe he missed out on some things along the way, and kind of wished that maybe time could go backwards and could do some things again, or I don't know, but you kind of see this grieving in his face that the kids are actually grown now. And for me, you know, they're grown and gone. Now, I think we all have to experience it in our own ways, but my family is spread out. I don't have the luxury of my children being just down the street or in the same city. So 2 of my children live in Kansas. One of them lives in Virginia, and we are Maryland residents. And so, in order to see my children, my dream, right? My dream was that my kids were going to grow up. We were all going to live close together. I'd be able to see grandchildren all the time. In my little bubble, that's what was going to happen, and that's not the case. And it's requiring a lot of travel of us just to see our children. It's requiring a lot of intentional planning and time together, and we have to create that time together, and also respect their time, right? And respect their lives. There's that tightrope that we walk. So I think we just always have to find our way with that, and what works with each of our children, which may be different. The criteria may be a little different with each of our children because they're all different. But let's just take a minute to look at this thing called grieving that a lot of times we want to just close our eyes to, shut our hearts out to, because it hurts too much. And we don't know how to deal with the pain, and we don't know how to deal with the emotions of our lives changing and the reality that our children aren't our focal point anymore in life. And I've heard a great saying recently, a couple of times. A couple of different people have told this to me, and I think it's a great reminder that, and you've probably heard this before, but to focus on the fact that we are human beings, not human doings. We are human beings, not human doings. And I will say that as parents, we get into that mindset of doing, 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 doing. And in doing that, no pun intended, we we tend to get out of that uh, being and that comfortableness of just being, right? And it takes a little bit of thinking and intentionality on our part to start seeing the value in it. So, the reason I talk about this being is because we are challenged as empty nesters. First, we have to be without our children, okay, because they have lives of their own now. And, pat yourself on the back. Feel really good about that, because that means we did something right. If they're out on their own doing their thing and have their own lives, we should be feeling very proud about that, and we did something right. So kudos to us, right, who have done that as parents. Um, and then the second part of that, so we have to be without our children right now in this chapter of life, but then we have to be with our spouse more. And some of us are very challenged by that. Like, we're looking at this other person and go, okay, who are you? Or we're looking at this other person and go, I love you, but I may not like being around you 24/7. Especially if retirement, right, is in the picture right now. That's another thing that we have to contend with. But this idea of grieving our lives changing and grieving our children growing up and having lives of their own, we have to be with our feelings. And I would encourage you today not to deny that, even though it feels like crap, okay? Because if you're willing to go through the valley of the shadow of death, right? If you're willing to go into those feelings and go through the grieving process, then the reward for that is coming out the other side a stronger person, knowing more what you want to do, in a place of making decisions for your own life, and knowing how to change the focus of your life and creating a positive, fulfilled life. If you tiptoe around the feelings or suppress the feelings, and I would say suppress the feelings, I want to stay there for a minute. So if we decide to continue doing, like we did with our children, when we do, then we don't need to stop and acknowledge our feelings and work through them. I have found in my own life personally, it's a very healthy thing to do. So when you suppress your feelings like this and they just stay under the surface, they're always there. They don't go away. They don't disappear. They're there. And then what happens is, instead of dealing with them and walking through them and walking through pain, walking through the hurt, walking through the realization, that life is different, walking through all those things, bringing on the tears, right? Bringing on the anger, bringing on whatever that is, but dealing with it in a healthy way, of course. But walking through it allows you to come out the other side. When it is suppressed like that and it's not dealt with, it does not go away. And it ends up turning into other things in our lives. And it can also get to a point of affecting our health. Because I truly believe in the mind, heart, body, soul connection. And the being means we are human beings, right? So God created us with emotions. That is part of being a human being, is to deal with those emotions and not just ignore them and think they'll go away, because they don't. They just manifest themselves in another way. They've got to find a way to get out, right? They got to find a way to be processed. And so a better way is to express them, to feel them, to just live in it. And it's just an emotion. And so it will not last forever, but it seems to last longer, right? If we suppress them, and then they manifest themselves in other ways, like in illnesses, depression, anxiety, lots of different ways those unexpressed emotions are going to set in. And so I think I'm talking about a really important thing today, something that's come, I guess, full circle in my life. I've done a lot of personal emotional work in my life, and I think now that life gets quieter, it allows us to work on ourselves as individuals. And again, don't look at that as a negative thing, but a very, very positive thing of bringing health and wholeness, serenity and sanity into your life, and creating a balance and drawing in those things that bring you much joy. Believe it or not, you can have joy outside of your children. You can. God has created you with many wonderful attributes, and maybe it's time to start flourishing some of those and letting some of those bloom and get excited about these new adventures that can come into your life, and you can be intentional about it. It's a creative time, it's an adventurous time, and you know, one of the best blessings my children have ever given me is when they say, "Mom, you are radiant. You are looking so good. I am so grateful that you are taking care of yourself." I can't tell you how many times I've heard this from my children, because those are the decisions I've made for my life after kids. In my empty nester years, I've decided to focus on me and my health, putting myself number one, and I can't tell you how wonderful that has been for my life. And I wish the same for your life. So, I guess the message for today is to remember you are a human being, not a human doing. And let's get on with this new chapter of life in a joyous and adventurous way. So I hope you'll join me again. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you next time. Many blessings.